Every Christian is an influencer. I used to reject that title because of what it means in society today. But, I looked up the definition, I looked up what Jesus called us to do. And I have to admit, we're all influencers. At least that's what we're called to be. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Wesley Adi. If this is your first time here, why don't you consider subscribing to this channel? I make contents like this every week. Let's jump right into it. Influencer by definition simply means one who exerts influence, a person who inspires or guides the actions of others. What does that sound like? I mean, some of the very last words of Jesus here on earth in Matthew 28 says, "Go into the world and make disciples of all nations." Go into the world and make disciples. So he said, go into the world and influence others, basically. So not just make disciples, but also teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of age. So he's basically saying, listen, I've poured so much into you. I've taught you so much. Now you go out there and do the same I've done. You go out there and make disciples just like I've made you disciples. And that's the call on every single Christian. But that's not even my main text. My main text comes from Matthew 5, from verse 14 to 16, where Jesus told his disciples that you are the light of the world, and a city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Take note of the positioning of us. Take note of the position of where he says we are. He says, you're a city set on a hill. We're right on the hill. We're not on the valley. We're not in the middle ground. We're not on the low ground. He's saying you are right on top of the hill and you cannot hide. And that's where he has placed us, right on the hill where we can hide. That's why you don't even have to tell people sometimes that you're a Christian. It's like you're set on a hill because you're just different. You don't do things like everybody else. You don't talk like everybody else. You don't dress like everybody else. That's why we're on a hill. That's our positioning. We're not called to be a part of. We're called to stand out. We've been placed right on top of a hill. What a privilege. Now look what verse 15 says. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. This is what Jesus is saying. You never light a lamp and put it under a basket or under a couch or put it outside the house, but you put it on top of somewhere where it can light the entire room. That's what we are. We're like a lighthouse. So he's saying, don't be the kind of Christian where only, your family members and your church friends know that you're a Christian. You see this light? You see this light? There's a reason I didn't light it up and hide it and put it behind the couch or the cupboard. There's a reason it's right here so you can see it. That's what God is saying that we are. We are light. We can't help but shine. This is the most important point. The world needs us. Now, they might reject us. They might reject you. That's probably going to happen. But they need us. We're like the only hope of this world. And you might be asking me, well, where do I start? I'm a shy person, or, I don't have a platform. Start wherever you are. You go to work, or you go to school, or you live in a house with your parents, or wherever you are, that's your mission field. Say you live in a house with your parents. Your attitude in the home can change their heart if they're not saved. Like the way you conduct yourself in the home can change their hearts. You do your things on time, you do the dishes, you run errands, and you do it cheerfully. That by itself can turn people's heart. At work, everyone is gossiping, right? But you decide to be the guy that does not gossip. You decide to be the guy that lifts people up. You decide to be the guy that is patient with customers, that's always cheerful, that puts a smile on people's faces. I tell you, that goes a long way to affect people's heart. And that's what it means to be light. Not every Christian is called to put up a camera in front of them and talk right into it. Not everybody's called to do that. But if you're called to do that, you got to do it because you're called to do it. I'll tell you, when I started talking into cameras, I was terrified. Like I could talk in front of crowds, but in front of a camera, I was just totally terrified. The first video I made, I'll put the link up here. I did so many takes. I just kept trying, did it over several days, just like a 7-minute video. But I did it because that's what I was called to do. I knew I had to, create a YouTube channel and share my experience, share the word of God with people. I'm still not perfect at it. I'm still growing, I still sit here and sometimes I'm like, what am I even going to talk about? And verse 16 says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works, that they may see your patience, that they may see your kindness, that they may see your love, and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So we're literally ambassadors for Christ because whatever we do is pointing back to God so that they may see our good works and glorify our Father which is in heaven. Some of the things that you do is going to be the greatest message you've ever preached. Your lifestyle at work, at school, at home is going to be some of the greatest messages you will ever preach. So it doesn't matter about having a platform, doesn't matter about, going on Twitter, social media and all of that stuff. Yes, those are great tools, but your mission field is wherever you are right now. So our duty is to put God out there and be true ambassadors for Him. Forget about the numbers, forget about the feedbacks. I tell you, you don't know how much impact you're making. You don't know who's looking at you and saying, you know what? I want what that guy has because he's special. I want what that girl has. She's special. You see this light that we have? Let's shine. Let's do it all together. Imagine the amount of light in the world if every Christian said, let's shine. Why don't we do that? Let's all do that. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.